The headlines are screaming about peace talks in the Middle East. They're talking about record stock highs in Tokyo. If you just glance at the ticker, you'd think the soft landing is, effectively done. Mission accomplished.
That is the official story. That is absolutely the narrative.
But if you actually do the math on what happened yesterday, February 6th, the math proves the system is arguably breaking. The world you think you live in, it might already be gone.
This is neural pulse. Let's analyze.
Okay, let's get right into it. The cold reality of the U.S. economy. Everyone was waiting for the January 2026 jobs report. The consensus, the hope really, was for plus 80,000 jobs. That was the floor.
And the reality was a splash of cold water. Non-farm payrolls came in at only plus 50,000. But the headline number isn't even the scary part. It's the revisions.
It's always the revisions. This is a pattern we've seen for a while now, right?
It is.
They release a number, everyone cheers, the algorithms buy the news, and then a month or two later, the BLS just quietly whispers, actually, it was worse.
Exactly. The Bureau of Labor Statistics went back and revised the previous 2 months, down by 76,000 jobs. So the growth we thought we had at the end of 2025.
It just didn't exist.
It was a statistical phantom. The net result is the labor market hasn't just slowed down, it has stalled out completely.
Is stalled even the right word? Or are we really looking at a contraction that just hasn't been admitted yet?
The data is pointing directly to contraction. Look, the unemployment rate is now sitting at 4.4%.
Now, to the average person, 4.4% still sounds historically low.
Well, sure, but in economics, it's not the absolute number, it's the rate of change.
Yep.
We are dangerously close to triggering the SAM rule.
Okay, let's break that down. We hear that thrown around on financial news all the time.
Yeah.
What is the actual trigger mechanism?
It's a very, very reliable recession indicator. It basically says that when the 3-month average of the unemployment rate rises by 0.5 percentage point from its low over the last year, you're already in a recession.
So it's not a prediction, it's a confirmation.
It's a confirmation. And we are right on the mathematical edge of that. The safety net is fraying.
And it's not just the government data, is it? The private sector is signaling distress, too.
Right. The Challenger job cut report. It tracks planned layoffs for January. Over 108,000 planned cuts.
That's a high.
It's the highest January figure since 2009.
2009.
The bottom of the great financial crisis. That's the context.
So that's a heavy comparison. The seller's market for labor, the idea that an employee has all this leverage to get a raise.
That leverage is gone. The power dynamic has completely flipped back to the employer.
But this is where it gets strange, right? Because usually when jobs vanish, the market panics.
It does, but we are seeing a very specific and I would say intentional reaction this week.
Because of one name, Kevin Warsh.
Correct. On January 30th, President Trump nominated Warsh as the next Fed chair. This signals the end of the data-dependent Fed.
The Jerome Powell era.
The era of carefully watching every decimal point, that's over.
Warsh is a different animal. The intelligence is calling it the Warsh Doctrine. What does that actually mean?
It means a shift to growth focus. It is a tacit admission that the U.S. government cannot service its debt load if rates stay high to fight inflation.
So they have to choose.
They have to choose. Kill inflation and bankrupt the government, or let inflation run hot to inflate away the debt.
And they are choosing inflation. It's a regime change. They're choosing to debase the currency to save the sovereign.
Essentially, yes. Warsh is also known for hating forward guidance.
Which is the Fed telling the market exactly what it's going to do 6 months from now.
He wants that to end. He wants flexibility. And very interestingly, he is very pro-deregulation for crypto.
Okay, that explains it. I was looking at Bitcoin holding that $60,000 support level and thinking, why is this holding up if the economy is this bad?
Because the smart money knows the bailouts are coming. They just won't be 2008-style bailouts for the consumer. It's about saving the sovereign debt. And Bitcoin, in that environment, becomes a very attractive lifeboat.
So that's the domestic picture. Stalling jobs, a pivot to inflation. But the briefing calls this the Great Realignment. That implies something much bigger.
Much bigger. When we look at the international sources, the realignment is literal. We are seeing kinetic action physical shifts in power in Japan, China, and Venezuela.
Let's start with Japan. The U.S. is sweating a jobs report, and the Nikkei index just hit 55,361, a historic high. What is driving that?
In a word, Sananomics.
After Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi.
Correct. She has completely shifted Japan's posture from passive and pacifist to, well, aggressive. That stock market boom is being fueled by a massive boost in defense spending, hitting 2% of GDP.
So it's not about selling more cars or video games. It's money flowing into Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, Kawasaki Heavy. It's a military boom.
It's a preparedness boom. Takachichi is saying Japan's economy cannot survive without a strong military posture against China. But there's a huge risk.
Which is?
Japan has a general election tomorrow, February 8th.
That is a tight timeline. The market is rallying on her policies, but she doesn't have the mandate yet.
Exactly. If she doesn't win, this whole rally could unwind very, very quickly. But for now, the U.S. wants a heavily armed Japan to check China.
Which brings us to China, the dragon that's eating its own tail. We're hearing reports of a massive purge.
This one is different. This is General Zhang Yuxia, vice chairman of the Central Military Commission.
For the listener, that's basically the highest-ranking uniformed officer in the entire country.
Correct. That's like the chairman of the Joint Chiefs just disappearing overnight. And the rumors swirling around his removal are incredible leaks of nuclear secrets to the United States.
That sounds like a spy novel. Is there any verification on that?
No, and there likely never will be. But whether the rumor is true or not almost doesn't matter. What matters is the effect. We call it the Naked King effect.
Meaning?
Xi Jinping has now removed everyone who might give him honest counsel. He is surrounded by yes men, terrified of being next.
Which is terrifying when you think about the Taiwan timeline for 2027. If no one can tell the emperor his army isn't ready.
He might just push the button anyway. The risk of miscalculation has gone up exponentially.
And while China is distracted with this, the U.S. is making moves in its own backyard. Venezuela.
It does read like a spy thriller. A special ops raid on January 3rd removed Maduro.
Just like that.
Effectively.
Yeah.
Delcy Rodriguez installed. But look past the coup and look at the policy. January 29th, a new hydrocarbon law.
Fancy talk for privatization.
It's privatization, yes, but the logistics are the key. For the last decade, Venezuelan oil has largely gone to China to pay off debts. It was a lifeline for Beijing.
And now?
Now it is flowing to Chevron refineries on the U.S. Gulf Coast.
So let's connect these dots. The U.S. secures its own energy, effectively stealing China's gas station. It's arming Japan. And China is cannibalizing itself. It feels like the board is being set.
It is consolidation, and that explains the peace talks you see in the headlines. Abu Dhabi for Ukraine, Muscat for Iran. But look who is at the table.
Jared Kushner in Abu Dhabi. In Muscat, you have CNTCOM Admiral Cooper in uniform.
This isn't diplomacy, this is compellence.
Define that term.
It's the use of force, or the threat of it, to make an adversary do something. A uniformed admiral in Muscat is telling Iran, we are not here to negotiate terms. We are here to tell you where the physical boundaries are.
So it's about freezing the lines. Not finding a just peace, but freezing the conflict to conserve resources.
It's a profound shift. And this is where we need to pivot, because this geopolitical chess game has direct, immediate consequences for you. The micro-war is fought with your assets and your local infrastructure.
So what does this all mean for the listener? I mean, Venezuela's far away, but the sources point to a signal that's flashing red in the luxury market.
This is a fascinating proxy for the death of the middle class. We are seeing a huge divergence. Look at LVMH Louis Vuitton, the ultra-high-end stuff. Stock is fine. The ultra-rich are insulated.
Then you look at Gucci.
Crashing. Because Gucci relies on the aspirational middle class, the person who saves up for a bag to feel wealthy. That demographic is broke. They've exited the market.
And then Tapestry, which owns Coach, is surging.
Exactly. That's the trade down. The middle class can't afford Gucci, so they settle for Coach. It's a brutal illustration of the economic divide. You're being forced to choose a side.
The hollow middle. And while your purchasing power is squeezed, the actual infrastructure you rely on is being hammered.
The report highlights a ransomware attack on Conpet, the Romanian pipeline operator, by the Quilin Group. Now, Romania might seem distant, but the method targeting energy infrastructure is universal.
And closer to home.
The FCC just issued an urgent cybersecurity alert to broadcasters. We're seeing active exploits of vulnerabilities in SolarWinds and SmarterMail.
SolarWinds again. I feel like we've been hearing about that for 5 years.
And that's the problem. These legacy systems are like Swiss cheese. But notice the targets. Pipelines, broadcasters. This is the system shock scenario from the risk assessment. If the grid goes down because of a hack, that soft landing narrative evaporates in seconds.
And this connects back to the Warsh Doctrine. If the government is focused on inflating its debt away, who is watching the back door?
That is the uncomfortable question. The breakdown of the global police role means the U.S. isn't going to secure shipping lanes for your cheap goods unless there's a specific deal in it for them.
And they aren't going to bail out your savings account if inflation hits 10%.
Because that inflation is the policy. It's the only way to make the math work. The debt is too high.
So if the safety net is a myth, what's the move? The report uses a pretty dramatic metaphor, the assassin's blade.
It sounds dramatic, but it's about the silent wealth destruction that's happening right now. Look at gold. It's hitting nearly $5,000 an ounce.
5,000. That's double what it was just a few years ago.
It's the global signal of de-dollarization. Central banks in the global south are exiting the trust-based system. They are voting with their reserves. They don't trust the dollar.
So the era of outsourcing your survival is over. You can't just put money in a 401k and assume the government will fix it.
The institutions, the BLS revising data, the Fed becoming political, they are failing to hold the line. They are managing the decline. The vacuum is here.
The sources put it bluntly. Stop asking, what will the Fed do? And ask, what will I do?
Exactly. Are you a victim waiting for the next jobs report revision to tell you you're in a recession? Or are you taking control? This environment stagflation plus system shock it favors the prepared.
Warlord of your own life. That's the phrase used in the briefing. It sounds extreme, but when you look at the chart of gold or the purges in China, it feels appropriate.
It's a call to action. The Great Realignment isn't just happening to nations, it's happening to individuals. You have to realign your expectations, your assets, your security. You need to become harder to kill financially and digitally.
It's about agency. In a world where these macro forces are grinding you down, the only thing you control is your own perimeter.
Precisely. If you are waiting for the soft landing, you're going to be waiting a very long time. The landing gear is stuck, the pilot is parachuting out, you have to fly the plane.
The silence from the establishment about these real risks is deafening.
Interpret the silence accordingly.
We've covered a lot of ground, from a jobs report to a coup in Venezuela.
The key takeaway is connectivity. The price of a handbag, the security of your bank account, and that coup in Caracas, they are all part of the same story.
Before we go, here's one final thought. We talked about gold hitting $5,000, Bitcoin at $60,000. But if the digital grid is as fragile as those alerts suggest, what happens to your wealth if the screen just goes black? It's worth thinking about what you actually hold in your hand.
Neural pulse. Clarity in a complex world. Decide your move.